Good morning. Thank you all for getting up bright and early and sharing this beautiful day with us. Right now, we will call to order the Joint Subcommittee of Government, Operations, Commerce, Labor, Transportation, and Agriculture. And this is September the 17th, 2025. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Senator Crow is present. Senator Hatcher
Here.
is present. Senator Kyle is present. Senator Oliver is present. Senator Seal, Chairlady Bowling is present.
Present.
Chairlady Bowling, you have quorum in the Senate. Yes. Representative Hardaway. Representative Fritz is here. Representative Renault. Representative Sherrill is present. Representative Towns. Chairman Reedy. Chairlady Bowling, you do not have quorum in the House.
Thank you. As we start our meeting, I'm asking Rep. Monty Fritz if he would please lead us in the pledge and in a prayer for our nation. And if you all please stand.
If you would just bow with me, we'll pray first. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great state of Tennessee you've given us. We thank you for the opportunity to get to serve you, and for those folks that are here to help support your will in this land, this sweet land that we love. Help us, God, to be reminded this week and all the weeks of our lives to be Hell's Gate chargers. Help us, God, to remember that you have called us to charge the gates of hell for every Tennessean. And help us to remember that one life, like that of Charlie Kirk, can make a difference in an entire world. Father, we give you praise and thanks. We just ask you to be with us. Give us discernment as we do business for your people today. For it's in the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Attention. Salute. Pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
If you'll just remind everyone about the mics, how we can only have 3 on at a time.
A little housekeeping right now. Only 3 of these wonderful, terrible mics can be on at a time. And so we'll have to pay attention and we'll get help, I'm sure, from the technical folks. But this is different from our normal mics, and we will have to remember to maybe take a little extra time to make sure your mic is on, because it doesn't automatically come on. Right now, are there any other personal orders or announcements? Yes, sir. Chairman.
Madam Chair, thank you. I note that Mr. Chip Saltzman's in the audience with us today, and it just reminds me of some of the difficulty we're having overseas. His, I guess, the godfather of his children, Governor Huckabee, is, as you know, our ambassador in Israel. And if we could just this evening maybe say a prayer that for his safety and for the accomplishment of his mission, and that we get done what we need done over there.
Would you like to lead us in that prayer?
Yes, thank you. Lord, if you would, please keep Governor Huckabee and his family in your arms, and keep them safe, and please help us to accomplish the mission that we need accomplished in Israel, for the people, for the sake of the people that live there on both sides. And we appreciate it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chairman. No other personal announcements. Then we will call the Department of Agriculture, the first agency on our agenda. If they would please come up, the agency representatives and the comptroller team, if they would come forward and take their respective places.
Thank you, committee members. Carol McDonald, Assistant Commissioner for Department of Agriculture.
Appreciate your time today. I'm gonna turn it over, I guess, the auditors, they start first.
If you would please
Yeah.
just first introduce yourselves, and you introduce yourselves, then we'll come back to you and let you expound.
Okay.
Okay. But just in the way of introduction now.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlie Hatchard, Commissioner of Agriculture.
Adam Travis, Assistant Commissioner, Tennessee Department of Agriculture.
Donovan Patterson, Legislative Senior Auditor for the Comptroller's Office, Division of State Audit.
Nicole Crittenden, Legislative Senior Auditor with the Comptroller's Office.
Thank you both very much. And now we're going to get a presentation from the Department of Agriculture. Excuse me. Excuse me. The audit team will present, you're going to present both findings simultaneously. Okay, there's a little change in the script here, but thank you very much. You know what you're doing. That's what matters. And then we'll have an opportunity from the department to respond. So if you would please give your report.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Donovan Patterson. I'm a Legislative Senior Auditor with the Comptroller's Office, Division of State Audit. We are here to present the results of the 2025 performance audit of the Department of Agriculture and the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation Commission. Before I get started, I would like to thank the department for their cooperation, professionalism, and timely assistance during our audit. The Department of Agriculture's mission is to serve, support, and promote agriculture and forestry. We followed up on 2 previous findings in the Consumer and Industry Services section related to inspection timeliness, as well as a grant and contract monitoring finding. During planning our audit, we learned of a new database for inspections, so we also included a limited review of the new system. With the department's mission in mind, we also included work related to business development, which awards grants to 8 farming and agricultural businesses, and the Land and Water Stewardship section, which awards grants to soil and water conservation districts for use in protecting water sources from agricultural runoff. We audited the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation Commission, which has its own sunset date, but is closely related to the Land and Water Stewardship section's work. We also reviewed the Tennessee State Fair and Exposition Commission. A statute requires the comptroller to include a review of the commission whenever we audit the department. We audited the Department of Agriculture from July 1st, 2021 to May 31st, 2025. In the current audit, we followed up on 3 prior audit findings. We verified that 1 was fully resolved and 2 were partially resolved. Additionally, for the specific areas audited, which we discussed earlier, we identified 2 new findings, 4 observations, and 1 matter for legislative consideration. Our first of 2 findings relates to the agency's information systems and is confidential according to Section 10.7.504 of Tennessee Code Annotated. Therefore, we will not discuss that finding in this presentation, but we have communicated it to management. My colleague, Nicole Crittenden, will present the rest of our results.
Good morning, committee. Nicole Crittenden with the Comptroller's Office. As Donovan mentioned earlier, although the Tennessee State Fair and Exposition Commission does not have its own sunset date, statute requires us to include it whenever we audit the Department of Agriculture. We did have 1 finding for the commission, which is on page 62 of your report. The commission did not meet during fiscal years 2022 or 2023 to oversee the state fair contract with Wilson County Promotions, despite being legally responsible for administering the fair. The commission mistakenly believed that they no longer existed until General Counsel for the Department of Agriculture brought it to their attention. And in response, the commission reconvened in April of 2024 with plans to continue to meet annually. Without regular meetings, the commission cannot meet its statutory oversight duties or ensure the fair serves the interests of Tennesseans. We also had a matter for legislative consideration, which is on page 63. The General Assembly may wish to consider updating state law to prevent potential conflicts of interest with the commission. The chair of the Tennessee State Fair Association currently serves on the commission, and we determined that the chair is also the president of Wilson County Promotions, which is the group contracted by the commission to operate the state fair. In addition to the chair, we also noted that 7 individuals are officers of both the association and Wilson County Promotions. The General Assembly may wish to review the commission's composition requirements and consider whether a potential conflict exists when a member of the entity contracted to operate the state fair also serves on the commission. And we also reviewed the State Soil and Water Conservation Commission, which helps the 95 local soil and water conservation districts to protect farmland from erosion and improve water quality. State law gives the commission the authority to set policies, oversee results, and ensure accountability. Our review resulted in an observation, which is on page 54. We found that while the commission does assist the districts with soil and water conservation programs, the commission has the statutory authority to do more. And based on our test work, we determined that the commission had not adopted bylaws, consistently collected conflict of interest disclosures, or reported commission member absences. We also noted that some meetings lacked proper public notice and some minutes were incomplete. Without these steps, the commission risks its ability to remain effective, to be transparent, and to comply with state law. We'd like to thank the department for all of their assistance during this audit. Everything went really well. And we would also like to thank the chair and members of the committee for your time and attention. But this concludes our portion of the 2025 performance audit report for the department and the Soil and Water Conservation Commission. But we are available for questions.
Thank you. And we will now go to the department and let them have their response. And then if there are any questions at that point, we will entertain questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So good morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the General Assembly for their support of me and the ag and forestry industries for almost 7 years now, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. So during my tenure, I've learned to embrace audits because they make, in these hearings too, they make the department better, and that's what's happening here, and I want to point some of that out. So we agree with these findings, and we've been on track to improve it. So let me kind of describe that to you. So when I became commissioner, we did not have an internal auditor, and now we do, and that's Teresa Sneed, and she has been fabulous in helping us get make this great progress. So the previous findings in some of the earlier audits have turned to observation, so we've made vast improvement there. The 2 findings that we have before us, one is one that we've been trying to address for years. So we did not have a good data management database in our regulatory division. And over the 20 years I've been in the department, this is our 3rd or 4th one, and this is the one that has the bandwidth to do it. And this will give us real-time data for our inspections frequency and should put us on track to be more efficient there and better able to monitor and inspect. So that's the core one, Trace First database, and we've got a meeting with them September 23rd to discuss responsibilities and how to better address some of the findings of that first one. So that's that one. The Tennessee State Fair, as you know, we've moved it from Metro to Wilson County. We thought that was in the best interest of the taxpayers. They had such a wonderful base out there. And since that time, it's exploded in attendance and educational exhibits and been a wonderful thing. So through that process, back several years ago, I became the chair of that commission to get that process in order. And then we were busy, didn't realize, trying to make this state fair successful. So we did not meet in 2022, 2023 till it was pointed out to us. We did begin meeting in 2024 and met in 2025 also. So we handled that. So That's the meat of the matter, and that's our response to the two findings, and we appreciate the opportunity to give that response. If there's any questions, we'll entertain them.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning. I appreciate y'all's work. Appreciate the audit. Just a couple quick questions, and mine are primarily related to the soil and water. And I'll get to those in just a minute, but I wanted to start with just the agriculture license tags. That figure really got me, $72.2 million, and we raised that with the sale of tags. That's a phenomenal thing. I think that's everybody's favorite license tag, so I thought that was worth noting. Pesticide drift is on page 14 of the report. And then we talk about, I think it was, I didn't mark the page, I apologize, for the soil and water and heavy metals. I think that may be page 53, 54. Could you tell me the soil and water sampling analysis and what are the key alarm points that we look for in the pesticides first? And I'll ask the same question then for heavy metals, because we talk about analysis in soil of heavy metals and water in some of the material. And not trying to give you the chemistry quiz, I promise. And thank you for your time you invested in me in the lab to try to help educate me as to what we do analyze for. So don't let me get out of bounds with that, please. But just what are the alarm points you look for pesticide drift so that we make sure that we're not maybe promulgating risks to everybody?
Madam Chair, is it okay that Dr. Travis address that?
Absolutely. Just introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Adam Travis, Tennessee Department of Agriculture, Assistant Commissioner for Consumer and Industry Services. And I appreciate the time that you took, Representative, to come out and meet with us and learn more about the work that we do there in the laboratory at the Ellington Ag Center. So I believe the drift that you're referring to, if a farmer experiences some drift or believes that he or she may have experienced some drift from a neighboring location, they can reach out to the department to file a complaint. We will then dispatch an inspector who goes out and evaluates the scene. So they may find that there has been crop damage. They'll collect, depending on what they see, soil, water, vegetation, swabs, or any other number of pieces of evidentiary material while they're out there. Based on the types of findings that they see, they will submit samples to our laboratory, and we will perform a variety of different analyses for different pesticides. So typically, there's a specific class of pesticide they may be concerned about. So if it's a crop, it's likely going to be an herbicide. If it's someone who maybe it was at their house and they had someone come out and apply pesticides commercially for them, they may have a concern that something may have been harmed there around their house, and it may not be an herbicide they're concerned about, but something that may have had an impact on an animal. So those specimens will be brought to the laboratory. We have the ability to do a screen. So there's several hundred chemicals we can look for at once. And if we identify something, we report the laboratory. Sorry, I have to take that hat off and be in my new position now. We'll report that over to the regulatory team, and then we'll do the interpretation of that to determine whether or not what was found could have actually had an impact on the crops that were of concern.
Yes, the follow-up question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one follow-up question to it. Thank you so much. And I do appreciate your investment in time and me to help me understand that. So as I recall, you're using GC mass spectrometry and ICP to do some of these analyses. So it's kind of a two-part question. You all know I have an interest in this whole geoengineering thing, and that we have metals and so forth that I think that are coming down into our farmland. I think that's going to hurt the farmer in the long term. It gets into our water supplies. It's going to hurt the health of everyone. And so do you have the capabilities now that you need to analyze for things like aluminum, strontium, barium, high sulfur content, perhaps? Do you have those capabilities? And do you need to improve capacity on any of those analysis capabilities?
Sure. Thank you for that question. We do have the technical ability. So we have the instrumentation there to perform those analyses. So we have ICP OES, ICP MS, a variety of combustion techniques. So we can actually identify just about any element that may be present in a sample. Our concern, though, would be if we were to expand, my concern would be if we were to expand that to a monitoring type system, we don't actually have the capacity. So we have capability, but not capacity to roll out a larger monitoring program.
Thank you. One final follow-up, I promise. So Title 58-2-116A directs that the governor and the state agencies on a continuing basis to evaluate things that are emergencies, floodplains and forest fires and all the things we do, but it includes weather modification. And so often when I ask this question, we're told that we can't do that, but it's in code now. So I've just asked this, will you go look at that code? I think it's applicable in those things. And perhaps we could provide some good advice so Tennessee can remain the leader in what we started on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Merritt, very much. Yes, Senator Grove.
Thank you. Monty mentioned the geoengineering. You know, I got a call, I guess it's been 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, from several people in Johnson City saying, Rusty, you know, we think this is happening. You know, we've seen this evening and we don't know what to do about it. That next morning, all the cars, it hadn't rained or anything. All the cars had all kinds of, it looked like you had some kind of dirty rain all over the cars. And I took a sample and I wasn't sure who to give it to, but this is interesting to me because you're saying that if that happens again, as the senator, I can bring that to you and you can probably check it out, right?
So we have something in place for monitoring and receiving complaints for pesticide drift. I'm not sure that we have a program that would fall under, although we could certainly have discussions if there were to be concerns, something that we could work together on. Absolutely.
You have the equipment to be able to test that, as Monty said, the mass specs and those sort of things to be able to test, or does the state have that equipment? It's in some department. I'm not sure where it would be, but.
Yeah, we do have the capability to test for pretty much any element that might be of concern. So if there were to be concerns about elevated amounts of something specific, we could absolutely test for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And to that point, because that now is in code, that would be an appropriate thing to start looking ahead to, that you might be receiving samples to test. And I think that this is becoming more apparent nationwide. There are more states that are passing laws that are going to govern what's being sprayed and whatever. And we know that there are certain things that are done routinely by farmers. We're not talking about those. Yes, sir. Dr.
I was
Hatcher, you're
just going to say, we
recognized.
also work well with our counterparts, the health department, and they have a new lab, and we have some of the similar equipment, and they backed us up, or we backed them up during COVID. So there's that too, that we could collaborate with them on, as well as our federal partners.
Thank you very much for that additional information. And it's so good to know that our agencies are interacting with commonalities, and that's always helpful to everybody. So appreciate that very much. Any other comments? Any other questions? Are there any public comments? Oh, I'm sorry. You're recognized, Representative.
Thank you
Cheryl.
very much. I just want to say to two of our great people that's working with the Department of Agriculture, Commissioner Hatcher and Carol there, we appreciate what y'all have done and doing for us. And we know that you are retiring, we hear, but we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you very much and all the hard work that y'all have done.
I'm even going to go, and thank you very much, Representative Cheryl. I hate to say it, Carol, because she's got another month, but we will not be able to see the doctor again in this capacity. And we certainly do appreciate all that both of you do and the team you have been, and the accessibility that you've given to the members of the General Assembly has been very much appreciated, and the response. So I'm going to ask that we all just stand and give another round. This is, they are two wonderful people. And the indication of the respect and admiration that we all have for you all, I just hope the people in your footsteps following up will recognize they've got some pretty big shoes to fill. And we know that they will be capable, and we look forward to getting to have relationships with them. Well, now, are there any other comments? Any public comments? Then do we have a motion for the Department of Agriculture?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the Department of Agriculture for 4 years.
We have a motion to extend the Department of Agriculture for 4 years. Do I have a second? Second.
Senate can make motions and say.
Only the Senate, because we have a quorum. We will now have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? The motion is for 4-year extension. Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote in the Senate. Madam Clerk, please take the vote in the Senate.
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chairlady Bowling
Aye.
votes aye. Chairlady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Congratulations, Department of Agriculture. We truly do appreciate you and appreciate your reports today, and we appreciate the auditors. As always, you all are carrying on the tradition and that has been established by the auditors of Tennessee for quite a while, and we appreciate your addition to that. Thank you very much. So we're going to, we move for a 4-year extension of the Department of Agriculture. And we're going straight from that into the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation Commission. And is there any discussion, any public comment? We now need a motion to extend this committee.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. Make a motion that the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation District be extended for 4 years.
The motion is to extend the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation District for 4 years. It has been made and seconded. We'll now have a roll call vote. Would you please take the roll?
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chairlady Bowling
Aye.
votes aye. Chairlady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So the Tennessee Soil and Water Conservation will be extended for 4 years. And now we will move on to the Pest Control Advisory Boards. Thank you very much. Hello, all of there by yourself. No comptroller here. Welcome, and if you would like to make your presentation about the Pest Control Advisory Board. Introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Karen Vale, the Chair of the Pest Control Advisory Board. Do you want to introduce yourself too?
And Adam Travis, Assistant Commissioner, and I also am on the Pest Control Advisory Board as the Commissioner's designee.
So the Pest Control Advisory Board advises the Commissioner of Agriculture on the promulgation of rules, categories of licenses, qualifications of applicants, and examinations for licensees. We've prepared responses to your questions. Would you like us to go through all of those responses, or would you like us just to open up to questions to our responses?
I believe there are some questions. If you would like to go through your responses, how many?
6?
Just the high level.
There's 16 questions that we've answered.
Okay, the top 4. And there might be questions that would relate to some of the others, but if you would proceed with what you think are the top four.
The top four is the advisory boards has advised the commissioner regarding the promulgation of rules. In 2021, the board worked with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture to help them revise the rules and regulations are 0080-09-01-04 and -06. That was a very intensive discussions back and forth. Many meetings held to get us to that point where the industry felt representative, Department of Ag was agreeable with the rule changes that came into place. Well, we do have several we don't have any vacancies on the board, but we are waiting for appointments for several positions that have expired, but those people have continued to fill those positions until reappointments have been found. We have been meeting regularly between 2 to 4 times a year. We had cut it back to 2 times a year, and the industry wanted more contact. And so we went back to meeting 4 times a year. Yeah.
All right. There was also the question about whether or not the board and the department felt that the board should be continued. And to that point, the department has really used this opportunity to engage with our stakeholders in industry. And while we certainly would, defer to the will of the legislature as to whether or not the board should be continued, we do find utility in that it does provide us a formal means of interacting with industry and soliciting feedback from stakeholders and providing a forum during which we can discuss any proposed rules.
Thank you very much. That's very significant. Thank you. Is there any other question that you think the answer?
No, I think, we yearly fill out our conflict of interest form, so there shouldn't be any issues related
Right.
to
Some of the
conflict
things are
interest.
just housekeeping, and we appreciate that. And then your interface, as was just noted, with the Department of Agriculture is significant, and we appreciate that. So are there any other questions from the committee? Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you again. Just one quick question. We do open meetings, and so that should provide a venue for this. But for the composition of the board, should we consider perhaps someone, one of those last two, the Tennessee citizens who are not associated with the pest control industry, which that's hard for me to define because we're all associated if we have termite inspectors come to our house. So that's difficult, but not trying to wordsmith that at all. My thought for consideration would just be this. Should we have one of those people that are more on the Make America Healthy Great side of things or organic farming? Do we seek out that dissenting opinion to many things as a part of the board structure? And should we do that?
I think the openings are announced to the public so that anybody could apply. And then it's up to the governor to make the selection. So, and announcements go out to a broad audience.
That's very encouraging. I appreciate that response. And so the answer is everyone that's taken the time to watch this morning, or maybe we could put on a website, applications being taken when it's appropriate time to do that, so that people who look at things like that and who are interested can know, and then the governor will, in the final analysis, make the appointment. So thank you. Well, that's good information. And Representative Fritz, you have one more question.
Thank you, Madam
Or
Chair.
comment.
And I guess my question is along these lines. I'm sure the governor's going to get some advice on who would be the appropriate folks. And what I'm asking is, should there be some counsel that suggests that we have a MAHA person or a Make Tennessee Healthy First person whose focus is on controlling our food supplies and so forth, and how pesticides might involve, how that might be detrimental to such? Is there an active engagement to seek out that dissenting opinion in the advice that goes up for that selection?
Yeah. So
You're recognized.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. The manner in which the board has operated in the past has not really related to so much the application of pesticides or how they're being used, but more on the examination side. So the requirements for the knowledge that someone must demonstrate in order to hold a certification or a license. I will say that we have had some robust discussion during some of those meetings, so we are certainly not afraid of dissenting opinions or folks providing us some difficult feedback. So if there is anyone that would like to participate, we do have opportunity for public comment in all of those. And I would certainly welcome anyone who's interested in discussing that with us. And we also hold those meetings there on campus. So if someone would like a tour of the laboratory afterwards, of course, they'd be willing to do that as well.
Thank you very much. And as we ask these questions, I appreciate the fact that you're pulling back the curtain a little bit and seeing the day-to-day work that you all are doing on behalf of the people of Tennessee. And it's impressive and it's important. Thank you, sir. Agriculture is still our #1 industry. Any other comments? Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Well, excuse me, public comment.
I have some public comment that was sent to me, if I could read that.
You certainly may.
This is from Faye Golden, Director of Governmental Affairs with Cook's Pest Control, and also the immediate past president of the National Pest Management Association. She says, thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the sunset hearing on the Tennessee Pest Control Advisory Board. The outcome of this process is significant as it directly affects both the structural pest control industry and the public we serve. I have worked at the structural pest control industry for more than 12 years, primarily in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. And prior to that, I served with a regulatory agency. Through my involvement with our national trade association, the National Pest Management Association, or NPMA, I have also had the privilege of collaborating with regulatory partners across the country. From my observations and interactions, the Tennessee Pest Control Advisory Board fulfills its responsibilities with professionalism and integrity. Board members approach their duties conscientiously and engage with industry members in a respectful, courteous, and constructive manner. My experience with the board comes primarily from attending the quarterly meetings, where it's consistently observed members were focused, fair, and engaged as they address the issues before them. They demonstrate expertise, balance, and dedication, and they approach their work in both strength and empathy. One area of concern, however, is the limited participation of structural pest control industry representatives at these meetings. Aside from those appearing from the administrative matters, industry attendance is often quite low. Broader engagement would strengthen the exchange of ideas, enhance communication, and ultimately produce better outcomes for both the industry and the public. I would respectfully suggest exploring additional ways to publicize board meetings and to encourage greater stakeholder involvement. Thank you again for the opportunity to share these comments. Respectfully, Faye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vail. And I appreciate those comments. They're very complimentary, and also a little bit at the end, and it's those of us who are elected officials, it's a common denominator, though. You want people to show up at meetings. You want people who have some input to give the input and some direct knowledge, and oftentimes they don't make it a priority to attend the meetings. I think we need to do everything we can to make sure that the industry people are notified and are made to feel welcome. And then if they come, and we would appreciate them coming. Thank you. Yes, you're right. Did you sign in? Public comments. Sign in, and then you may make your public comment. And I apologize, it's right here at our Sergeant of the Arms desk. The public is always welcome to speak at these meetings, and I apologize, I did not particularly say that there was, or I didn't say it at all, that there was the sign-up sheet over there. And there is always a sign-up sheet when we have a committee meeting for those who are interested in making comment. Comment is limited to 3 minutes. Thank you for being here and thank you for wanting to comment. If you'll please introduce yourself.
Hi, am I talking? Oh, it's on. Hi, I'm Bernadette Pager, and I wasn't prepared to speak. I was just coming to witness. But after Representative Fritz brought up the need to have MAHA representation on anything to do with pesticides, I just wanted to second that on behalf of thousands of Tennesseans, consumers who are increasingly concerned with pesticide use everywhere, how it's contaminating, what it's doing to the soil of Tennessee. And we know we can't get rid of pesticides completely, quickly, that there has to be a slow transition. But it really starts with Tennessee taking a good hard look at what they are approving, because some of the pesticides approved in the state of Tennessee and at the federal level are banned in other nations because they're so toxic. So I just applaud trying to bring MAHA more into what Tennessee is doing. I'm glad to hear that there are some vigorous debates going on with this pesticide committee, and I do encourage actively looking for somebody, and I would probably volunteer for that myself to be on that committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your information and your passion on that. And a lot of people are calling our offices. We are aware that people are becoming more concerned and more aware of things. So thank you for the work that you all are doing, Dr. Bell, as well. We appreciate that. Any other comments from the public? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we extend the Pest Control Advisory Board for 4 years.
The motion is to extend the Pest Control Advisory Board for 4 years. Is there a second? A second by Charlene, Senator Oliver. Would you please call the roll?
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling
Aye.
votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you very much. By this vote, the Pest Control Advisory Board is extended an additional 4 years. Thank you. And our next board will be the Tennessee Equine Health Advisory Commission. Thank you. If you would please introduce yourselves.
Tennessee Commissioner of Agriculture, Charlie Hatcher.
We'll help you anytime you need help.
I'm Dr. Monty McInturf, Equine Health Commission Chair.
Thank you, sir. Well, if you all would please now make a presentation regarding your organization, your commission.
Yes, so let me give a little bit of background here. So the Commissioner of Agriculture serves as ex officio of this commission. And my designee is Dr. Samantha Beatty. She's a state veterinarian, so I'm standing in for her today. And so Dr. Monty McInturf, who's sitting to my right, has been very instrumental in this group, and we can answer however many of these questions you want us to go with. If give us some direction on that.
Just a very brief overview.
Sure.
If you would like to do that.
Yeah. I'd be happy.
Okay, Monty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a comment. Our group formed, I guess, 4 years ago. And we were very excited to have the opportunity to sit and discuss the health and welfare of horses in our state. The equine community is large, and it was nice to be able to, as a member of the public, to have a voice. And our board consisted of 9 people. A state veterinarian was on it. We had 8 folks from across the state. We had representatives from Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee, and East Tennessee. We had about 2 public meetings a year, the first 2 or 3 years, and we were passionate about what we talked about. I hope you had a chance to look at some of the information we shared with you. From that, we worked with the commissioner to do an economic impact study of the effect of how significant the horse is in our state. And we showed that 1.8 billion in generated revenue is the horse industry, which is quite significant. It's not the beef industry, but it is significant. And we really felt good about those numbers. And I can tell you, as a veterinarian, equine veterinarian in this state, those numbers are growing. The health of our horse shows and the health of the way people are caring for their horses has improved a lot over the last few years. We've also had an opportunity to work with our state veterinarian on welfare issues. We do have issues in our state where there are horses that are neglected, that need help, and we've been able to help with that, making recommendations for education and be a part of those conversations, which we appreciate the state forming this commission and allowing us to have a positive impact on the horse in our state.
Are there any comments from the committee? Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick, Doctor, I was happy to see that we both spell our first name correctly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do like your name.
I want to thank you for what you're doing. We do say agriculture is our number one industry, and agriculture includes a lot. And the horse industry has always been central in Tennessee. Senator Frank Nicely would explain all of that to us about our soil and the different places where the horses did better. But we also, with the agriculture and the forestry, we're blessed in Tennessee. And I think that we're trying to make motions to make sure that we retain a lot of the open land, the agriculturally used land in Tennessee, and not wake up one morning and find out that we have put asphalt over places where horses need to run. But thank you very much for what you all are doing. It's very important. Are there any other questions or comments? Chairman, you may speak.
Thank you. I just want to thank Commissioner Hatcher for really having been a major force in making sure that when horses are abused, that we take quick action. I know I had several calls from people, and ever since he's been our commissioner, that's been taken care of very well, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Are there any other comments, questions? Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Yep, thank you,
Chairman.
Madam Chair. Gentlemen, I'm happy that we're having this conversation. Of course, we have walking horses on our farm. And of course, in reading your documentation on the equine industry, of course, the discussion came to the Agriculture Enhancement Program. In your mind's eye, what do you see that we will make available to equine industry, equine owners, and such?
Yeah. So we just added equine to the Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program, and in large part result to this commission. So the economic study showed what we thought was true, that it's a huge part of our economic driver for the entire state and ag industry. And so for years we had looked at it, but this kind of pushed us over the top. And then we also got more money, thank you, to the General Assembly for the Ag Enhancement Program, and it was a good time to do it. So that program is, the application for that program is the first week of October. And that equine program is going to be, is kind of intermeshed with our existing programs. So we didn't really have to develop a brand new program. We just used what we had and made those eligible for hay and handling equipment and all those kind of things. So you can go online and see exactly what's available. The requirement is 20 horses, whether you own them, stable them, train them, whatever you do. So it should have a broad effect on the equine industry, we think, and we look forward to that, and we're going to be tracking it.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. And of course, me, before I become an elected official, I took advantage of that program on purchase of a bull the handling equipment, making everything safe around the farm and handling of the cattle. And of course, bringing the genetics up where it needed to be. And of course, at that point, all my kids were in the beef show program. And it's kind of nice when you finally get there with a quality beef steer, and then your kids win grand or reserve champion. And then of course, then it's thinking about that. My wife was, she went through the class to judge horses in the horse shows for the young people. And she hadn't done it for some time. But I always kind of wondered about that. It's like, okay, we take care of the sheep, the goats, and the cattle, and when are the horses going to come online? And so I'm excited to hear about that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're recognized. Dr. Hatcher.
Yeah, so it's going to be the same concept. So horses are livestock, and so it just took the infusion of the money to get us over the top to do it. Because if we'd started it without the money, it would have taken away from other programs, and it would have been, you guys would have been getting phone calls.
Any other questions? Yes, one last question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I missed this. I got hung up on our first name doctrine. I'm going to echo what Senator Crow and Representative Reedy said. You know, if the Lord's going to come back on a horse, we probably ought to do things to promote the well-being and take care of them. So thank you again for that one.
No other comments? Any public comments? Any public questions? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we extend the Tennessee Equine Health Advisory Commission for 4 years.
The motion is to extend the Equine Health Advisory Commission for 4 years. Is there a second? I have a second. And we'll take the roll call vote in the Senate.
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling
Aye.
votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. The Equine Health Advisory Commission will be extended for 4 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. And the comptroller team has come forward as well. Could I please have the agency representatives introduce themselves?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Brad Willis, Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Kevin Mahoney, Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Tourist Development.
Mary Caitlin Price, Legislative Liaison for the Tennessee's Department of Tourist Development.
Thank you all for being here in Comptroller's office.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Taylor Fritz, and I'm a Legislative Senior Auditor with the Comptroller's Office Division of State Audit.
Thank you very much for being here. We would like you to present the audit, and then we'll have the response from the committee there. Thank you.
The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is overseen by a board of directors consisting of 19 members. The hall has 1 employee, an executive director, and receives administrative support from the Department of Tourist Development, whose commissioner is provided a seat on the board. The hall has inducted over 500 individuals. Its goal is to honor accomplishments on and off the field, enshrine great sports legends throughout history, and educate the youth on the value of sports. The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Museum in Bridgestone Arena closed in 2024. The hall plans to open a new museum in 2027 inside Nissan Stadium, which is currently under construction. We audited the hall for the period of July 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2025. We reviewed the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Board's process to comply with composition, attendance, and quorum requirements, to comply with the Open Meetings Act, to disclose conflicts of interest, and to nominate and induct individuals into the Hall of Fame. We reviewed the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame's oversight of the Jeff Bird Memorial Scholarship and the status of the new museum. For the areas we reviewed, our work did not result in any findings or observations, but it did result in one matter for legislative consideration. The matter for legislative consideration can be found on page 11 of the report. Statute requires the Hall's Board of Directors to conduct officer elections every year, but the board conducts these every 2 years. Additionally, statute requires the Hall's Board of Directors to submit an annual plan of operation to the Commissioner of the Department of Tourist Development for approval. Currently, the board is not submitting this plan because the commissioner is aware of its operations due to his status as a voting member of the board. The Sports Hall of Fame Board and Department of Tourist Development Management should align its practices with statute or consider working with the General Assembly to amend statute to better fit its operations. The Hall's executive director agreed with the matter for legislative consideration. We would just like to thank the commissioner and his staff and the executive director for their help throughout the audit. They were very cooperative and it was a really good experience. And we'd also like to thank the chair and members of the committee for their time and consideration this morning. And we're available for any questions, and I'll hand it over to them.
Thank you very much. And if you would now present the response to the audit.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you. Again, my name is Brad Willis. I'm the Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. On behalf of our organization, first of all, I want to thank the Comptroller's Office for the careful and professional manner in which the review was conducted. We believe the sunset audit is an important mechanism to ensure accountability, and we appreciate the oversight that it provides. Also, I'm thankful for the administrative attachment that we have with the Department of Tourist Development. Assistant Commissioner Kevin Mahoney, Mary Caitlin Price, who are both here with me today, Commissioner Mark Ezell, and their entire team have worked very hard to get the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in a position to succeed for the long term. And we're here today in large part due to the procedures put in place by that department over the last 6 years. Since 2020, we've inducted 75 individuals over 4 induction banquets, which were attended by nearly 1,000 attendees each year. Our organization is currently in the process of designing a new permanent home at the new downtown stadium, and we've been able to increase our organization's visibility and overall awareness with an award-winning annual television program that spotlights our yearly inductees airing statewide. To have a report returned with no findings is both encouraging and affirming. It confirms that our procedures are strong and that we're fulfilling our responsibilities with integrity. And we're very happy with the outcome, but we also see it as motivation. We want to continue strengthening our operations, learning from best practices, and ensuring that our work honoring Tennessee's sports heritage is carried out at the highest standard. So we're grateful for the clean report, proud of what it represents, and we're committed to building on this momentum moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent report and excellent comments made by the Comptroller's Office. Are there any comments to be made by any of the senators? And Chairman Crow, you are recognized.
I do want to thank them for all they do. If you take a look at the people that we honor through this Hall of Fame, it's amazing. Just to give you a good example, I've got a guy up in Elizabeth in Carter County that you'd never know was would be in this Hall of Fame, and unless it were for the Hall of Fame, making sure people understand all that he's done. It's a guy that I think he sneaked off and went to Korea at age 15, got caught, came back, sneaked off again at 16, got caught over Korea, came back. His mother finally signed to let him stay there and fight. And he came back home and became one of the best heavyweight boxers that we ever had in our nation. I think out of, he was a Golden Gloves boxer out of 50 some fights. He had 50 some knockouts. He was slated to fight Muhammad Ali. This is an interesting fellow, to fight Muhammad Ali back when he was Cassius Clay. They had the stadium in Elizabeth and set up to have the fight. And I think Cassius Clay heard that Deacon had sparred with the guy that sparred with Cassius Clay and had knocked him down. And so I think Cassius got sick that day and didn't show up. That would have been an interesting fight. For some reason, he didn't show up. But Deacon Bowers is one of those, and he was also he's in the Hall of Fame also as a referee for the fights that you saw on ESPN. So some interesting people that are noted in the Hall of Fame, and we appreciate that you guys honor them the way you do. Yeah.
And
you may know Deacon.
Thank you for your comment.
And as we were talking about agriculture being the number one industry, tourism is right there, number two. And people, that's the best industry. Ag is purely green, but tourism is very green because they come to us and through us and leave their green behind. And we don't have to do a lot of things for them that we have to do for other people in the state. So we certainly do appreciate what you all doing to represent not only that aspect of tourism, but it's the aspect of honoring folks where honor is due. And that's always important to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick clarification. I think I understand the code 5404 to say should rather than shall. And I'd like to confirm that. And I just want to get on the record. We don't want to leave the perception with the public that you all have just decided not to follow the law and we're going to change it to suit you, because that will not go over well with my constituents.
It's a great point.
And so we probably should explain that shall versus should on the record. Thank you.
Yes. If I might, I would like to point out on that front, we'd probably be discussing all potential legislation changes with our board and the governor's office to kind of meet those recommendations.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure.
follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to make sure that we say on the record, the current code is should rather than shall. Is that correct? That you should hold an election every year? Because if it's a shall, you don't have an option.
Let me defer to our legislative liaison, Mary Caitlin Price, if I could.
Mary Caitlin Price, Representative Fritz, do you mind repeating the code again? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. It's on page 11 on the report, and it says, according to section 4-3-5404 Delta, it says after the board was restructured in 2019 and each year thereafter, the board should elect a chair, vice chair, and any other officers during the first meeting of the year. Currently, the Department of Tourist Development, the department, and the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame board, the board, hold officer elections every 2 years. So my point is, if the code says should, I'm okay with that. If it says shall, I'm gonna scold y'all just a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, we will be addressing that and making sure that we are aligned with our current bylaws as we move forward and discuss with the board and the governor's office.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, just make sure, does it say should now, or does the code say shall?
We would need to look into that and we can get back with you to make sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shells are tricky things. Any other comments? To have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we extend the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for 4 years.
The motion has been made to extend the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for 4 years. Do I have a second to that motion? Senator Sarah Kyle has seconded that motion. We will have a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Senator Crow.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Hatcher.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Kyle. Votes aye. Senator Oliver. Votes aye. Senator Seal. Votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling.
Aye.
Votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. And with that, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame will be extended for 4 years. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
We have a clarification on the discussion for informational purposes. You are now recognized.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Garrett, yes.
Doug Garrett with the Office of Legal Services. Just to clarify the statute and how it reads here, it says at least 90 days prior to the beginning of the state fiscal year, the board shall submit a plan for operation. So that is codified as shall, which is not permissive or anything relating to being permissive. It is mandatory. So.
Mm-mm. I think that gate's already been closed, but thank you.
Could I ask a legal question?
Yes, you may.
So are we out of compliance with the law?
Doug Garrett with the Office of Legal Services again. If the plan has not been submitted within the requisite time, then in my opinion, yes.
And my understanding was they were complying, but this shall does mean it shall be. And if they had submitted what it was, then regardless of the wording, then they were in compliance.
If they were not in compliance, if they didn't submit it within 90 days before the beginning of the fiscal year.
Didn't they submit it? Okay. And that's being, the comptroller found that they were.
They may want to look at the language.
Okay.
Whether they're required to submit it or whether they're not.
This was a matter for legislative consideration, and you have been before us now, and we'll consider that you all are coming into compliance with the law, and we appreciate your service. Thank you. Our next agency is the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, including the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Did we vote? Okay, I said, did we vote? I didn't remember if we voted. Who was it?
When you recognize him, just.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Chris Devaney. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you all so much for allowing us to be here. I'm Chris Devaney. I'm Chair of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. With me today is former Chair Jimmy Granberry to my right and our Executive Director, Jason Maxedon. Behind me are a number of past and present commissioners, the TWRA staff, leadership team, and some of our partners are also with us. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Also, I'd like to thank the comptroller for being here as well. They're going to let them give
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
And
sorry.
now, if the comptroller would please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Marianne Hagan. I am a legislative senior auditor with the Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury.
Good morning. I'm Alex Frederick, legislative senior auditor with the Comptroller's Office.
And if you all would like to proceed with your findings.
We are here to present today the results of the 2025 performance audit of the Fish and Wildlife Commission, which includes the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. We want to first thank the commission and agency staff for all of their help in completing our audit. The commission oversees the agency through choosing the agency's executive director, approving the agency's budget, and establishing agency objectives. The agency's mission is to preserve, conserve, manage, protect, and enhance the fish and wildlife of the state and their habitats for the use, benefit, and enjoyment of the citizens of Tennessee and its visitors. The agency will foster the safe use of the state's waters through a program of law enforcement, education, and access. With the Commission's oversight responsibilities and the agency's mission and risks in mind, we audited the areas of law enforcement, information systems, financial sustainability, grant monitoring, the foundation, online storefront, and the Commission. Our audit covered the period of May 1, 2017 through June 30, 2025. Out of 4 prior audit findings, 3 findings were resolved, covering the areas of grant monitoring, the foundation, and the online storefront. Our audit resulted in 1 prior finding being partially repeated, 1 new finding, and 1 observation. The partially repeated finding and the observation relate to the agency's information systems and are confidential according to 10-7-504I Tennessee Code Annotated. Therefore, we will not discuss those during this presentation, but we have communicated those to the Commission and management. The finding we will discuss relates to the agency's law enforcement, specifically evidence rooms. The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency's wildlife resource officers routinely identify, seize, and store items from individuals involved in alleged wildlife violations for use in legal proceedings to enforce the state's wildlife laws. For example, if an officer suspects a hunter of illegally hunting deer out of season, evidence collected could include the hunter's gun and the deer carcass. Seized evidence can include vehicles, firearms, narcotics, and wildlife carcasses. At the time of our test work, we counted more than 1,500 seized evidence items currently held in agency custody. The division organizes its operations across the state in 4 regions as shown, each with a regional headquarters and multiple satellite locations where officers can store seized evidence. According to the division's evidence training document, officers should use a physical label or tag to track the chain of custody for the item, as well as document key information, such as the alleged violation and suspect. Officers must dispose of evidence seized once the applicable case has been resolved and are responsible for documenting the disposal, including retaining supporting documentation. Now I'll hand it over to Alex, who will go over the issues we noted in our finding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. The finding begins on page 9 of the report. We found that the agency's boating and law enforcement division did not ensure that wildlife officers documented, packaged, and stored seized evidence consistently and effectively. First, management had not implemented formal policies and procedures nor consistent internal controls to ensure effective evidence handling. Second, evidence data in the currently used system was incomplete and inaccurate. Finally, we identified several undocumented evidence disposals and unrecorded items through our test work. I will go through each of these conditions in turn. While the agency's boating and law enforcement division uses a training document to train new officers on how to collect, store, and preserve evidence, this training document does not offer formal, detailed guidance for wildlife officers to ensure uniform procedures are followed. The agency has not implemented formal policies and procedures governing the evidence process. The division also had not implemented consistent controls across locations, such as one-way lockers shown in the presentation. These lockers serve as holding places for evidence, so only approved staff can enter the main evidence facility. The division also did not perform internal reviews of their evidence inventory to evaluate whether controls are implemented or working as intended. After reviewing management's training document and processes, we requested a statewide listing of all evidence currently held in the agency's facilities. We reviewed each of these regions' lists and noticed large amounts of evidence were added in bulk to the tracking system in regions 1 and 2 soon after we notified the agency their evidence facilities would be audited. For example, in region 2, 91 items were in the tracking system prior to our data request. Once we obtained the data from the agency, we noticed 392 items recently added to the system. This means that 81% of the evidence held in Region 2 were not being tracked in the agency's currently used tracking system prior to our request. We found the same pattern in Region 1. In Regions 3 and 4, we did not see large amounts of data added to the system after we requested the data like we did in 1 and 2. However, when we arrived in Region 4, we counted 837 items in the evidence rooms as opposed to the 550 evidence items in the data we had been provided. This means 34% of the evidence in custody was not represented in the data in Region 4. After we pointed out these large discrepancies in Regions 1, 2, and 4, Management investigated and stated that most of the discrepancies came from evidence prior to 2021. These items continued to be housed in a separate legacy tracking system that is no longer part of the division's evidence process. Since the division lacked any internal review of evidence, management had not identified these large discrepancies prior to our request. When reviewing the agency's tracking system versus what we saw during our walkthroughs, we noted that officers did not always update the tracking system in a timely manner. This resulted in timing and status discrepancies that recorded evidence as in custody, though the evidence had actually been disposed of. In 8 of those instances, which are shown in the middle row of the table, the evidence lacked supporting documentation for the disposal. When performing a count of all evidence in the facilities we visited, we also found 5 undocumented items held in the agency's custody, including items of high value, which are represented in the bottom row of the table. These items had no physical documentation indicating why the items were in custody or what case they were connected to. These items were also not recorded in either the currently used tracking system nor the legacy system. When we discussed these issues with management, they stated that officers sometimes forget to attach documentation verifying the disposal of evidence. And while the seizing officer brings items to the evidence facility, supervising personnel do not check to ensure those items are placed in the evidence facility or the tracking system. So to summarize, we found a lack of policies and procedures, no internal reviews, inconsistent physical controls, ineffective data tracking, undocumented evidence disposals, and unrecorded evidence items. Together, these issues increase the risk that management or staff do not properly handle evidence, improperly store or remove evidence, or have evidence stolen from custody. We would like to thank the commission and agency staff again for their assistance in the audit. We would also like to thank the chair and members of the committee for their time and consideration. This concludes our presentation of the 2025 Performance Audit Report of the Fish and Wildlife Commission, which includes the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency. We are available for questions.
Thank you, sir. And could we please have comments from the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife? From the executive director, I believe, or is it from Chris Devaney?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and my apologies for jumping the gun. I was just so excited to be here with you guys today.
We're excited to have
Yeah,
you.
but if I might start again, though, I have on my right former Commission Chair Jimmy Granberry, our Executive Director Jason Maxedon. We also have past and present commissioners with us, some of our partners, and our TWRA leadership team. So thank you all again, and my apologies again. Before we move into the findings, I would like to share a little bit about the commission and its history. Nearly 200 years ago, the General Assembly passed its first wildlife law, but for decades following, legislative efforts failed to accomplish their intent, correcting the overexploitation of wildlife. During that time, deer had nearly disappeared, and many other species were in sharp decline. It wasn't until 1949 when Governor Browning created the Tennessee Game and Fish Commission that wildlife conservation finally had a chance to succeed. Because the newly formed commission was made up of sportsmen with the sole focus of serving Tennessee outdoors men and women, they were able to lead successful conservation initiatives. Since then, we've seen an incredible recovery of wildlife populations thanks to the dedication and efforts of the Commission and the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Many of y'all know today there are over 1 million deer, more than 6,000 black bears, 250,000 wild turkeys, and more iconic game species thriving across our state. Not to mention the over 9 million fish the agency stocks annually on our lakes and streams. Today, the commission is made up of 19 members appointed by the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House. The commission has 3 main duties: rulemaking authority for game and fish laws, hire and fire authority of the TWRA executive director, and oversight of the TWRA budget. We work to build a solid foundation so that TWRA can be successful in their mission of serving Tennesseans through conservation of fish and wildlife populations, maintaining access to land and water for outdoor recreation, and providing law enforcement and education in the field and on the water to serve public safety and prevent abuse of wildlife populations. As chair of the commission, I assure you that we take oversight responsibility of the agency very seriously. The commission actually has its own audit committee to review agency actions and direct the next steps to resolve these types of issues. I speak on behalf of the commission and the agency to say we are committed to resolving these two audit findings presented here today by the Comptroller's Office. And I do thank Comptroller Mumpower and his staff for their work, and we enjoy working with them. The first finding is a limited use, official use finding related to data systems. As you know, this finding is labeled limited public use, so we are not allowed to discuss this in detail. However, we look forward to addressing the issue with the Information Systems Council, and we have already directed the agency to take steps to update our related policy, procedures, checks, and balances to resolve this finding. The second finding relates to the agency's law enforcement evidence tracking and storage. First, I want to emphasize there was no evidence unaccounted for, nor were any cases impacted by any of the issues noted by the auditors. Most of these issues we're talking about relate to administrative and clerical procedure errors. Since then, we've seen an incredible, but the commission and the agency take that just as seriously as any other issue, and we are committed to corrective action. The first area noted by the auditors included updating procedures and lack of evidence audit. Prior to the audit, the agency had proactively started working towards completing something called the National American Wildlife Law Enforcement Accreditation, which will bring the agency's law enforcement division up to the highest standards for evidence handling and establish uniform procedures for our officers across the state. The agency also updated their evidence policies, including requirements for routine internal audits of evidence inventory. Additionally, the agency has sent several officers to training hosted by the International Association of Property and Evidence, and will be sending more in the future. This will further support our work to becoming the best in class for evidence handling. The auditors also noted a lack of one-way lockers at 2 out of the 18 evidence rooms. As you heard, these lockers allow an officer to drop off the evidence at a secured facility, which only the evidence custodian can access so it remains secure. The agency has addressed this issue by consolidating the evidence storage facilities down from 18 to 11, which will allow for better control measures and reduce risk. Every facility is equipped with one-way lockers, so we believe this issue is resolved. Regarding the issues with entering evidence data into the online tracking system, we believe this issue has also been resolved. As the auditors note, in 2021, the agency upgraded to a new evidence tracking software called Smart Evidence. We call the older system the legacy system. The audit period went far enough back to capture the period of time they were making the transition from the legacy system to the new system. However, when the auditors asked law enforcement staff for evidence records, they only provided the records for the new system, not the legacy system. We own that mistake. We did not instruct our officers to transition pending cases to the new system and allowed those to remain in the legal system, in the legacy system. Again, the commission promptly addressed this issue by directing the agency to carry over the older records from the legacy system so that all evidence is now stored in Smart Evidence. The next issue relates to a lack of supporting documentation for evidence removed from the agency's custody for 8 out of the 1,535 items reviewed during the audit period. That's actually less than 1% of all evidence. Practically, this means that items were either given back to the owner, thrown away, or in rare cases, given to state surplus or kept by the agency for educational purposes, but they were not marked as disposed in the Smart Evidence system. Since the audit, the officers have confirmed the justification for the disposal of the 8 items and updated the cases in Smart Evidence. The updated policies and procedures, which are now in place, will tighten up the process, and going forward, officers will be trained to appropriately account for and to upload supporting documentation of evidence disposals within Smart Evidence. The last item mentioned in this finding relates to 5 items out of the 1,607 total pieces of evidence that were properly tagged and stored securely, but not logged in the evidence tracking system. Again, all items were tagged and secured at agency facilities, just not logged in the Smart Evidence system. All items were documented in other agency databases, and since the audit, all items have been added to SMART evidence. This issue has also been addressed in the updated policies and procedures of the agency's officers and they will be trained on these items moving forward. I'm proud of the steps the commission and the agency has already done to resolve some of these issues, and we are committed to ensuring all of the findings are fully resolved as soon as possible. We really appreciate the committee's time today, again, the Comptroller's Office, and we stand ready to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll only ask, I have a couple comments and a couple questions, and I'll stop because I'm not trying to hog the mic today. First, I'll start with this. I met with one of y'all's employees last night, not me, a bunch of people down in Marshall County, and he represented well the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Association, his professionalism and talking about gun safety, training young people to hunt. So I appreciate that. Those are investments that are generational, and I appreciate the work that you're doing there. And I appreciate from our meet and skeets that we've done, sir, your engagement with our civil governments back in the counties and cities to help create a greater engagement. I appreciate that. I appreciate your attempting to make a culture change. I appreciate the Comptroller's Office. There's a Rickover concept that says you must brutally face the facts. And so I appreciate that you would put those facts out because that's the only way there is to continuous improvement. And I know that's your all's goal. So with that, I'd ask a couple quick questions and then I'll be quiet, Madam Chair, and let you all address these. What is your goal with the corrective action plan to address past or future findings and regarding this investigation? And is there a funding deficit or mode that exacerbates the poor performance in some of these areas in the findings that we should be correcting? And does this become another catalyst for a movement by us and government in general to restructure the funding structure for the Tennessee Wildlife Resource? In the past, I'll follow that question with this comment. Those in days of old, when law enforcement was fee structured, it led to bad behaviors in cases. And to remove that, I think might be a good thing for us to consider. So with those questions and thoughts, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Are
Yes,
there any
sir.
other questions or comments?
Is that a question or, yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. And
Yes.
Representative Fritz, first off, we really appreciate all the work that you do with us. It is greatly appreciated, the skeet shoots and all that. It's greatly appreciated. And actually the attention that you're taking on this issue. And I really appreciate you bringing it up. And I'd like to briefly answer some of this, but I'm actually going to if it's okay with you, take the liberty to pass this to Jason Maxedon. But as I said, we are implementing new rules, new procedures about all of this. And we actually hired an auditor, a new auditor, and another person is also coming on board to take over some of these duties. So we are trying to remedy some of these things that happened in the past that are in the audit. But having said that, and actually, Jason, if you'd like to circle back to me and Commissioner Granberry, but I'm going to pass it over to you, some of the operational things.
All right.
You
Jason
are
Max-
recognized. Yes, you are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason Maxon, Executive Director. I too would just like to thank the Comptroller's Office first. They brought these matters to our attention. Thank you for that. That's helping us address these and try to be better compliant. So I'll address the first one first. The first one was about compliance. We would like 100% compliance. That's what we're after. And so as the chairman alluded to, we've hired a new internal auditor. We're getting ready to fill a second position, which is new to our agency. Not a new position. It's one that we restructured because we saw this as a need. But these items that were brought forth to us is something that we need to clean up. We recognize that. And we're going to do annual audits, and then we're doing random audits throughout the year on these facilities as well. And we've already got that in place. We've put a new policy, should be finished up this week, into place. That's something that they recognize that I think is accurate. We had training for our officers as they would come in our academy. We also had training while they were on their probationary period. So we had documents in place that instructed them how to handle evidence. Obviously, we made some mistakes and we're correcting those. Now we're going to have a written policy in place that instructs everything about how to do that forward. Obviously, thank you for recognizing our funding situation. I think the second part of your question, would funding have helped this? No, this is mistakes that we made that we obviously want to correct. I think the third part to funding, yes, I think you all know with our license fee increase that didn't go through earlier in the year. We're very excited. Many of you are saying you want to work with us. We're thankful for that to this body to be able to look at a dedicated funding source. That's what's working in other states. We're not the only state that's having issues with funding that are structured the way we are, which is primarily through the sale of hunting and fishing licenses. In fact, there was an article that came out in the Sportsman's Caucus. Many of you may get that if you're part of that Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana all are looking at, well, they just all receive different dedicated funding sources. So it's happening in other states. And I think that's the answer to our long-term funding problem, is to come up with some type of dedicated funding to be able to help us get through that. It's not going to work anymore just on license sales. Hopefully that answers the question, sir.
Chairman Crow, you reckon?
Yes, no, I was just going to follow up on that.
Okay.
We did have the last time we met in rules review, we had a robust discussion on the funding situation. And I think what we realized after we, talked to people like you and Chip Salzman and others, members of your commission, was that, we've been all these years expecting you to survive relative to the funds you need for everything from vehicles to you name it, to put that on the backs of the hunters, which was not right of us to do. And I think when we looked at the other states out there, as you said, what they were doing, we realized, as a state, we probably haven't been doing our part. And so I think the notion that came from that rules review was that we need to take a good look at that. And I guess what we need to make sure of is that, Madam Chair, is that the executive director and the commission let us know exactly what it is they need, and put a plan together so that we can try to accomplish that. And I think there's a good bit of positive feel for that in both houses. I won't speak for the House, but I think in the Senate, I think we felt that, we probably needed to do a lot more.
Thank you, sir.
Any comments to the encouraging words?
I think we're excited about that, ma'am.
We have Senator Hatcher who has a comment.
I just have one question. All of the items that was mentioned in the audit has been located and documented at this time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and my apologies for being late this morning. A couple of months ago, and I've missed a good part of the early conversation. I hope this isn't retread. Thank you all for being here. A couple of months ago, when we were having the conversations, one of the questions that I asked was about the number of assets, the large amounts of property and things like that we have. Had there been any considerations of liquidating anything in order to help fill the budget shortfall that you're going to see in the agency? And I was a little disappointed when I was told that if we had to make cuts as an agency, those cuts would be at the expense of motor safety out on the water. I was a little disappointed in that answer. I think I made the comment that that's how our federal government treated the public when that happened. My follow-up question, I guess, to that conversation, one, is that an acceptable way of doing things for you all to say, hey, we're going to remove boater safety personnel? Or have you looked at any other ways of coming up with money inside the agency? Have you flipped over the stones to vacuum up nickels, if you will?
It's a good question. Let me take this first, and then Executive Director Max and I might have a few things to say.
You are recognized.
Yeah, these great questions. So as Senator Crow alluded, it is hard for us to maintain the agency and all the responsibilities like boating safety and hunter safety, and our game wardens with just, because the hunting and fishing fees, it ebbs and flows. Who buys those? I mean, we saw an increase during COVID and now it's flat. So it ebbs and flows. And so we need a current, a recurring kind of income stream that we can depend on. Having said that, yes, to answer your question, we have gone through some cuts that don't necessarily hurt the consumer. We have done that, and we don't want to do that. And I don't know why boating safety was pointed out in that hearing. I have no idea. In terms of the land, and I'll let Director Maxidai go on that a little bit. I have a personal view of that, and maybe Commissioner Chairman Granberry does as well. Tennessee is very fortunate and blessed that we have all of this public land, and that a lot of it that the agency maintains. And the reason is because it gives folks an ability, people who can't, there are a lot of people out there that can't afford to buy land, or, I mean, quite frankly, even lease land to hunt anymore. And so this gives the ability for folks to go hunt and fish on our public lands. I mean, I come from a state, and I got to Tennessee. I grew up in another state. I got to Tennessee as fast as I could, but it's Texas, and we didn't have a whole lot of public land growing up, at least not where I was from. And so, you know, you either had to have a farm or a piece of land, or knew somebody that had land to even hunt on. And so I don't want that for the people of Tennessee. I don't, you know, and it gives them the ability to go hunt and fish without having to purchase or lease land. So I don't know if Madam Chair, if Executive Director can answer a little bit more of that.
He is welcome if he would like to take the mic. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I remember that discussion in committee, and I think the question was, just for the other members, was, you know, if you made cuts, where would you cut first? And unfortunately, you know, we said law enforcement. It was because of the way law enforcement's funded. We typically, as you all know, most of our budget comes from the sale of hunting and fishing dollars, but we also get federal match dollars through Pittman and Robertson, Dingell Johnson money. Those are excise taxes that are put on things like firearms and ammunition. And the way that those federal dollars are able to use, we can use them pretty much on anything that we do except law enforcement. And so it was really just as a measure to say that's the easiest thing to cut. Unfortunately, that affects us all. We don't want to cut our law enforcement. One thing that you all did in session that we're grateful for this past session, you helped us with a bill that freed up our real estate transfer tax, which is what we call our wetlands dollars. We were holding 20 wildlife officer vacancies across the state. You all passed that bill. We're grateful for that. That helped free up money. Typically, we can only use those funds for the purchase of lands and maintenance of facilities. When you all freed that up, that allowed us to go back and fill some of those officer positions. In fact, because we laid off last year, we didn't hire a class. First year in our history, we haven't hired a class. We've come back since y'all freed that money up, really kind of going on one of the things that you said, and we've gone back and filled 12 of those positions. We interviewed for 15. We're filling 12 slots that'll go through the academy now. So hopefully that helps a little bit there. The second part of the question, just kind of add a little bit to the chairman. There's a couple of things with land that has come up a lot with members saying, you have too much land. Why do y'all need more? There's national surveys that are out there. That's the number one barrier that restricts people from getting into hunting and angling is access. And your constituents and ours are asking for more access to land. Some of this land, a lot of it, in fact, that's under the management of the agency, we passively manage. And a lot of people will say, well, that land's grown up. Y'all aren't taking care of it. Well, in fact, that's the kind of habitat that we want. We're managing for species of wildlife, and most of them want what we call early successional habitat, which is grown-up habitat. So a lot of that land is passively managed, which is good for wildlife, and that's what our constituents are asking for, is to be able to have land that houses those. A couple of things about that land. A member mentioned to me yesterday, well, why don't y'all sell some of it to reduce your land base? There's a couple of things there. There's currently a statute on the books of no net loss, which means that we can't sell a piece of property without replacing it. That's one. And then there's also federal dollars attached to many of those pieces of properties that we would have to pay the federal government back, which could be a diversion of funds. Not all of those, but several of those pieces may have federal match dollars that were put with real estate transfer tax or hunting and fishing dollars early on. Hopefully hope that answers everything there.
Follow up. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I understand the access argument. There is the hang up, I guess, I have with the access argument is we just talked about how the licenses had ebbed and flowed. They had increased during COVID. They've come down since. That didn't have anything to do with landmass. That had only to do with the number of people hunting. So I'm not sure that I'm entirely sold on that, on those comments. I'll close with this, members, regardless of the agency. When the state government, when we as taxpayers hold on to land, we take that off the tax rolls in the localities. If there is equipment, machinery, saws, whatever it may be, that needs to be used to clean the property, clear the property, take care of the property, it's my understanding that anything purchased by the agency would also be tax-free, so those tax dollars aren't here. And on the back side of that coin, when the state's holding it and those tax dollars aren't paid, because I believe the state agencies are exempt from paying those taxes. I'm seeing ahead, and I will come back to that. Clear me up on that if I'm wrong, please. But on the back side of that, if the private sector is holding on to those dollars, they are paying the local taxes, they are paying the maintenance, they are employing people to do those things outside of government. And as a small government guy, I just wanted to share those thoughts. And please, like to hear about the sales tax.
If there's a follow-up response.
We are exempt from sales tax, but sir, we pay PILT, payment in lieu of fee taxes. And so ag, I think you may be thinking ag is exempt, but TDEC and TWRA have to pay the PILT. And so whatever that tax base is today, that's what we would pay in perpetuity on that property. Now it doesn't go up, where if I was a private landowner and own that, as the tax base went up, I would have to pay that, but we pay that in perpetuity is what it is today.
But thank you for clearing that up. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair Lady.
Thank you. And the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes, those are often done with organizations like this, so that there is a money stream coming in. And I think I heard you say with maintenance, some people call it deferred maintenance when in fact it's intentional for the habitat.
Yes,
so there's a difference in people wanting to have a golf course that has to be maintained. But wildlife habitats typically need to be left wild. And I just do have a couple of questions, or maybe just more statements. The Comptroller's Division, it went ahead in matters referred by the agency. And I want to commend you on that, because my understanding is that they showed you something that maybe you would not have seen otherwise, in order to make certain that they're proceeding in a manner that is consistent with what they expect of themselves and of an agency of the state. I hope I didn't overspeak that, but I do appreciate that, and I saw the nods of concurrence there from the comptrollers, so I do appreciate that. Then one other thing, a couple of questions that I've received. What is your budget? And right now, you're saying most of it's from the licenses and whatever, but if you could just give us a snapshot view of what we're looking at if the state should acquire that opportunity.
Madam Chair, I'm going to defer that to Director Maxidon. He can give better numbers than me.
Okay.
We're putting forth a budget now of about $130 million.
That is in my estimation, when we're looking at billions, then that is unfortunately something that seems like chump change anymore. So you're overseeing everything in the state that we consider those lands that are available to the people of Tennessee by and large, for hunting, for fishing, for camping, and you're doing that with 130 million. And I suspect there's a breakdown for that, so we could look at that maybe more closely and to see. But I always have to comment on legacy systems. When I first came here, and they were talking about, well, this isn't a legacy system. This is a legacy system is something that should have been thrown out the window about 30 or 40 years ago. It's part of a communications gathering systems that actually you could have bought better systems to use at Walmart. And I'm not giving a plug to Walmart, but what we were having to try to store things on and retrieve things on in the state of Tennessee was antiquated. And so instead of calling it a piece of junk, we called it legacy. And that sounds nicer. But we've heard of a lot of agencies who've had problems with the legacy systems. Any other comments? Yes, sir. You are recognized. Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one follow-up for you gentlemen. And regarding the acquisition of land, is there a determinant factor in your interest on acquiring land as to its usability, if that's the correct word? It is in Roane County. The usability for things, for other development first. And secondly, do we have a good interface with the Department of Tourism as to just how much economic incentive is brought in when we dedicate land to hunting or fishing or something like that? I'm not a big fan of the model of too much public land, to be honest with you, but I do
No, I
understand that
understand.
there's a balance there. So if you give that a
Yes,
couple
sir.
of thoughts.
No, I understand that and I appreciate that and respect it. Yeah, I mean, look, just to give you an example, we work pretty closely with the Department of Tourism. For example, as y'all all know, we've launched this Bill Dance Signature Lakes, which is a true partnership with our agency and the Department of Tourism. And I have been part of the commission when we have, to answer the other part of the land question, I have been on the commission when we have purchased property. We haven't done it lately, but we do go through a whole review, and Jason can speak about this a little bit more, but we go through a whole review, why are we purchasing this, what it is, how many acres, why do we need this? I mean, we answer all of those questions. We're not out just, looking for land to purchase and gobble up by any means. It has to have some kind of benefit to the outdoor man and woman or the agency as a whole. But if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'll ask Director Maxton to elaborate on that a little bit.
So we have a couple of guiding documents where we try to target pieces of property. We have a strategic plan, and then we have several plans that show properties of high conservation value. Now, we only buy from willing sellers. Most of those always come to us. We typically don't go out seeking any land at all. These are people that would typically contact us. And most of the time, they're typically not development pieces. They're typically not great farming pieces anymore. Years ago, we got several pieces in West Tennessee that were, but we've pretty much steered clear of that. We don't want to interfere with farming. We recognize the importance of that in our state. These guiding documents, though, we work with a nature conservancy. There's other partners in the state that we work with that show high conservation value. Typically now we're buying very little property. We were slated to buy $10 million worth of property. This year we've backed off of several of those pieces that we were going to buy because of our budgetary constraints. But typically, again, those are with partners. There's maps that show the tracts that we're looking to purchase within, and then we wait for willing sellers to come to us.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I promise, Madam Chair, this last question. So, there's some concern in Oak Ridge, in the Roane County side of Oak Ridge, about some of the property that was formerly federal property, which was seized from Tennesseans in the 40s, right, for the whole Manhattan Project. And it probably is not in that developable land, if I can get that out, category. But I would just appreciate if there's some economic return numbers that you all have that we could get with tourism as to what we think that'll produce locally. I think that would help assuage some of the concerns that the folks in the city of Oak Ridge and the county of Roane might have. Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Senator Seal, you're recognized.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. And Director, thank you for coming to the district a few months ago, meeting with me, and really enjoyed that visit. I have a request for you on the maintenance of properties. You said that, based on the species of the property, that you're maintaining the property. Chuck Swan in my district, I'd like to know what species you're getting that ready for, because it's grown up. You can't get in there. And we talked about that in the district. So I'd just like to know what you're planning for sportsmen to use that for in my district, if you get that to me.
Sure. And Mike can answer some of that now to help if that's.
You're recognized.
Yeah. So that's a great example, sir, of one that people would say is grown up. Why are you letting it grow up? So this early successional habitat is basically the native plant communities that are there. Things like quail in that particular area, grouse. It's great nesting habitat for eastern wild turkeys, great fawning habitat for deer. So many times we will take a piece of property, we will buy it. Say some of these ag lands early on, which we're not buying anymore, but early on in West Tennessee would be an ag field. pretty much an open ag field is not conducive for great wildlife habitat. So we would actually try to grow the native plants there. A lot of the seed is already in the layers of the soil and it will come up on its own. And so we spend time and resources on some pieces like that. We burn them. Sometimes we'll do herbicides just to keep them in that state, but that's keeping the animals there, the habitat there that the hunters are asking for. And a lot of times folks will say, it's grown up, you're not doing anything, but we're really working hard to keep it in that state if that helps. That area is also a high value area for deer and turkey hunting, has historically been for a while. Those other species, we're really targeting those to try to get those species back on those areas. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Any questions or comments from the public? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we extend the Fish and Wildlife Commission for 4 years.
The second, a motion has been made and seconded for a 4-year extension. We can proceed to the vote of the Senate. A roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chair Lady Boldy
Aye.
votes aye. Chair Lady Boldy, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
The Fish and Wildlife Commission is extended for 4 years. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Tellico Reservoir Development Agency. Thank you, comptrollers. Thank you very much.
How many are arrested in this one? Everybody leaving?
We've lost our quorum. Sometimes they should put those first.
These folks are from my district.
Well, they needed to watch you all day. Our committee is back in order, and we have the last agency on our agenda today. We always save the best for last. The Tellico Reservoir Development Agency, and if the representatives were please just, you're forward already. And now if you would state your names, make sure your mic's on, and your name and position for the record, and begin your presentation regarding the Tellico Reservoir.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. We appreciate you all allowing us to be here today. I am Brian Hall, and thank you, committee. I'm Brian Hall, and I'm the Executive Director at Tellico Reservoir Development Agency, and I have 2 of the greatest sidekicks here with me, Jesse Swallow, who leads up our finance division, also our campground administration, Lisa Samples to her right. She heads up our economic development department, as well as we're kind of sharing a job in campground administration as well. So these ladies previously did that job, and we had somebody leave and they're back doing that job. So anyway, but we have a great team. They're on our management team. And again, thank you for allowing us to be here. Would you like me to continue a
Yes,
little bit?
please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, our agency is 43 years old. We basically oversee and oversight the Tellico Reservoir in Stream East Tennessee. And we have an amazing job. It's the best job in the world you can have because all we do is good stuff. And so we go out and do the residential development. We oversee all the permitting of that. And that is amazing what we do. I think there's 122 permits out right now on new construction on the Tellico Reservoir. So we kid around our secrets out, and everybody's moving in our area as well. We also do the recreational development. We have 3 campgrounds. We also oversee 12 boat ramps and the trail system. We work with TWRA that was here just prior to us. We have a wildlife management corridor contract with them that we work with them to help manage a lot of these properties, and it's a great partnership. And then we also do the industrial development. So we have 2 industrial parks. We're proud of those. We have more marine industries than anywhere in the state of Tennessee in our parks. Over 5,000 people work in one of our parks, and we have companies such as Sea Ray boats, Mastercraft boats, y'all have heard of those, Yamaha, HCB. We'll have a new announcement coming up, just landed a new project, another marine company coming into our park that'll create almost 500 jobs. So again, we're kind of the capital of the marine side of the area, but we also have automotive companies like J-Tech and Carlex as well. So we're in an area that I'm going to go back a little bit in time. In 1982, when our agency was started, I was graduating from high school. I know it's hard to tell that I'm that old, but anyway, 18% unemployment, nothing to do in an area that I actually lived. And that's why I'm so passionate about my job. There wasn't much there. We fast forward ahead. Again, what our job was to create, our mission and purpose, create, livability, jobs, recreation, infrastructure, and the things that we do. And so we've done that. We're proud to say that our unemployment is now about 3.6%. So we're living in an area that was probably, if the reservoir wasn't built by TVA back in the day, we'd probably be some of the poorest counties in the state of Tennessee. So we're fortunate to see the results. We credit ourselves with $3.5 billion worth of development in 43 years. We're the only agency that TVA set up this way in all 7 states. We have a 60,000 acre contract with TVA. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing contract. But again, we just go out and do what we do. We're not a burden to the state of Tennessee or the federal government. We make our own money. We create revenue sources through like permitting, campgrounds, sale of land. We also, I didn't mention a wastewater treatment plant because we're involved in infrastructure. And so we make our own funds and we turn around and through our process of a 501c3 structure, we spend that money. And so we spend within our means. We have actually funded all of our projects in-house. We haven't borrowed any money to do that. So it's an amazing agency. And again, we impact a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So we love our jobs. We love what our agency has been able to do over the years. And again, we appreciate working with the state as well as TVA and what we do. And we have I kid around, we got about 50 more years worth of development. So we've got about 5,000 acres left, and we'll just continue that and hopefully go forward and make the state proud. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Commendable comments and commendable work that you all are doing. And what's so good is you are Tennesseans helping to keep Tennessee. Right. And the natural resources that are so precious and that we all take for granted, but are so unique and beautiful in the state of Tennessee. Are there any questions? I can't believe it, but Representative Fritz has at least one.
Madam Chair, my apologies, but this has a lot to do with Loudoun County.
Sure
So
does.
I must ask just a couple questions. Second fastest growing county in the state, last time I looked.
Mm-hmm.
Much of that is due to Telco in the region and Telco Village and important economics, quality of life. Lots of people are moving from all over the country and the world to live free in Tennessee. And so that's a good thing. Couple questions, just a couple, and I'll ask them, and I will try my best to be quiet, Madam Chair. Development of infrastructure. I hear lots from my Telco Village folks that we have water pressure issues all across the reservation. And it's probably worth on record a little bit of talk about how we can help that, your ideas, your thoughts. Have we outgrown what we allowed to come in? And did we require enough of the infrastructure when we started the development back some years ago? I too have a hard time believing I'm as old as I am. I remember before we dammed it up and we just had the weir dams. I remember when it's still farmland. And so a little bit about infrastructure development to support that growth, because that's a big concern in Loudoun County. Mm-hmm. As folks like my friend Van Shaver will talk about, we're growing really fast. And is the infrastructure keeping up with the growth? Because if we outpace it, that becomes a huge problem. And then second question, I promise I'll stop. Asian carp. You knew I was going to mention that. How do we work together better? Because this is, for those that hadn't been to the Telco area, it's lakefront living at its best, probably best in the world, right there with living on Watts Bar in Kingston. Right. But we're concerned about that. We don't think we've done enough. Most of your folks that have moved in there, that they're concerned about this invasive species. So how do we work together better to get action rather than just talk from the Corps of Engineers, from TVA, and from other folks, because they keep pointing fingers, right?
Correct.
And so how do we work together to protect that beauty that God's given us there and protect the economics from that impact? Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Yes, if it's okay, I'll answer your second question first on the Asian carp. Again, we rely on TVA. Again, anything below the 820 contour, which is our flood line, is TVA. So we have nothing to do with what's in those waters. But we are concerned because it affects our development, and it's a question that comes up almost every day. So we have brought TVA in to meet with our residential communities. We have 7 communities on the Tellico Reservoir, and Tellico Village is one of those 7. So we'll talk about that in a second. But yes, it's a major concern. According to TVA and some of our insights, because we work with TVA in industrial, recreational, and residential. So we're TVA's ear all the time. Essentially, it is an issue. They are testing. They say they're doing everything they can to keep these Asian carp from getting into our lakes. But as you know, they're coming through those systems and the locks and so forth, what they're doing. The Tellico Reservoir, again, hopefully they'll be able to continue to combat that. I don't think you're ever going to really keep them away. It's just try to limit what gets in there. But it is, if you've been in Kentucky reservoirs, it is unreal. And I attend a lot of TVA meetings, and I know it has strong emphasis that they are committed as much as they can to control that. There's all kinds of testing devices. I know they're looking at ways. I think they're actually in Kentucky found a way that maybe some of the Europeans and stuff that actually like Asian carp, and they catch them and sell them and ship them overseas, and they'll actually eat them where we won't. But so there's a lot of different areas, and we get addressed every year. And I'll have to say the last several years, the Asian carp issue seems to it seems to always, the last few years, have some positives that they're making progress, I guess is what I'm saying. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I was alarmed personally, kind of led that fight, brought people to the table. We brought in, everybody we could from TVA to TWRA, everyone to address those issues. But it seems like the last few years, it seems like it's a little better control with some of the measures they're doing. But it is a scary thing. And again, it affects development. You do not want what's in Kentucky because, again, they are just jump in your boat. And the second question, and we'll continue to always, our agency takes that serious with the Asian carp, and we will be leaders in that to address that because, again, it's huge for us in our development side. Tellico Village, again, is one residential community of our 7. Tellico Village was our first community. The Coopers actually came in, and our board took a chance to bring Tellico Village in, and it's a beautiful community. Infrastructure is a huge issue, and we actually built the highway that came through. Jimmy Matlock, state representative years ago, was an instrumental of that, and we turned that over to the state, and it's 444 that runs through their community. And but their sewer is an issue. We have actually addressed it, trying to help them a little bit because they're on Loudon Sewer. We have our own sewer plant that is in Tellico Reservoir area in Rarity Bay, which is 4.2 miles away. We actually reached out to them and said, we would consider taking your sewer. We're only using a third of our capacity, and we could probably apply for ARC grants. You could help us match those grants, a lot less amounts than they were going to pay for an $8 million upgrade and all this stuff. But we felt like we'd do that for $3.5 million. And essentially, they helped pay for the infrastructure, and we could take it. That was one ideal that we had. Their board has changed up. Their executive directors left in the last few years. Their board, they're all changing up right now. They've got some good leadership. We have been meeting, so that is an ideal. Loudoun County, we're not sure they want to give it up because essentially it's a contraption tank where then they pull it over to Loudoun County and treat it as they have time to do. But the sewer's one issue, and that's the only thing we can help on. Water is the big issue because the water pressures, the infrastructure's depleted. It needs to be replaced. They're passing along that to the residents, and water bills are $80. And honestly, part of that goes back to previous management where planning and some of the infrastructure should have been addressed, in my opinion, back in the day where some of this should have been taken care of. And now they're about 90% built out, and the lots, they're not getting sales from the lots. So the only way they can do is kick up, their assessment fees, and it's passing along, which is not right to the customers. So yeah, it's disappointing. I don't really know what they're going to do about that as far as the water. Task provides the water, which is over in Vonore, but he runs over there. And I know that everybody's kind of worked together, but there's not many resolutions right now on the water. That is a big deal. Of course, Lenore City Utility Board, we work with them up in the Wind River and all that on I call the Greenback side. I will say this, for TRDAs, which we go by TRDA, we ran sewer from Bonner, Tennessee, all the way up Greenback to Lenore City on that side, so we could actually do the Wind River development, which created an opportunity. So we also work with TAS, so we have a water line, and we have a 12-inch water line, 8-inch sewer line. We have gas and everything, and electricity plenty. Greenback side is kind of like the hidden side. It's fixing to grow with Blount County and everybody growing in on us there. So they're going to see we got a lot of things going on over there too. But we also, our infrastructure in the Vonore area is good. We got room to grow and continue to grow. It's really mainly in that area of Tellico Village. And it is a concern, and we're open arms. And Henry Cullen, County Commissioner, Henry's on our board, and Henry and I, we work together, and we're open arms to help Tellico Village any way we can. And our sewer was one option to do that. We could help them. We're just making sure Loudoun County, we met with them and talk about it, is something they want to give up. There's not a lot of money in sewer. It's kind of a wash anyway, but we do have capacity to collect it. So.
Any other comments? I do have one. I think it's too fun not to comment on, but you partnered with representatives of the 180 members Soggy Bottom Kayak Club. And I just think that brings up all sorts of visions at Tellico Village concerning the difficulties and safety of launching and loading kayaks at the public use Clear Creek boat ramp. The group identified a small portion of the Clear Creek boat ramp on which to locate a dedicated kayak launch, and TRDA applied for and received the 26A permit, which is required by TVA to perform work along the shoreline. So the long and short, you did use cooperation and common sense, and those Soggy Bottom folks are now able to launch without having to compete with the regular cars and boats at the regular launch. And that's what it's all about. That's
We're
what it's all
heroes,
about.
yeah, Madam Chairman. We're heroes. That was a great project. Again, the community needed something. You have a lot of boaters that come in. It's funny, they don't want to share the parking lot. So we felt like a dedicated space for a launch point because a lot of these people are older. It's a great thing. We donated a lot of our labor and supplies to do that. And we work with them also on some trail systems and things too. And they're great. So we partner up with them, as we do all our communities.
It's a beautiful area, and I thank you all for all that you have done to organize and to facilitate working together. And everybody ends up better off. They really do.
I agree.
Do I have a motion? Oh, excuse me, public comment. No more public comment. So now do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion, but before I make that motion, I just want to say that working with Brian and his group, since I've been elected a year ago, they have really gave me information and stuff about the Tellico Reservoir development that includes Loudoun and Monroe and Blount counties. And, the things that they do and the economic impact that they have on those three counties is just unbelievable. So my motion would be that we extend the Tellico Reservoir Development Agency for 4 years.
Have a motion and a second to extend the Tellico Reservoir Development Agency for 4 years. We will now have a roll call vote in the Senate.
Senator Crow votes aye. Senator Hatcher
Aye.
votes aye. Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Oliver votes aye. Senator Seal votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling
Aye.
votes aye. Chair Lady Bowling, you have 6 ayes and 0 noes.
Then you have passed with 6 votes.
Thank
You have
you.
extended for 4 years.
We appreciate
Thank you so
y'all.
very much.
Have a great day. Thank you.
And now, per the law, actions by this joint subcommittee are submitted to the Government Operations Committees for deliberation and final decision prior to being placed on calendars during legislative session. Notice of future meetings will be posted in advance of the scheduled meetings. We are adjourned.